Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to give you an updated tier list on the best and worst paywall or bio subscription characters, because we've had quite a few added recently with Quasar, Luna Snow, and Killmonger more recently. So I wanted to take a renewed look and give you my renewed perspective now that I do have all of them, and I have almost all of them tier 2'd. Which ones you should be considering focusing on if you're just starting out, or if you're on your second or third or 10th bio subscription and you want to pick someone new as your target. Keep in mind that while there are a lot of characters shown as exclusives, I will be ignoring the partial bio subscription characters who you can get biometrics for by doing special missions or epic quest missions. So there will be no Vulture, no Inferno, no Clea, no Satana, and no Gwenpool on this list. So starting it off, I've divided it into 4 different tiers. A tier is the most valuable. B tier is kind of so-so. C tier is getting a little bit less necessary and kind of more in the realm of if they're your favorite character. And then we have the rest. This would be kind of the D tier that are strongly not recommended unless you have a ton of love for the character and you understand that you're building a subpar character or like a sub-balanced character. In addition, I took into consideration 3 things for the character specifically. So I took into consideration how powerful they are at max capacity, tier 2, Great Obelisk, ISO 8 set, the whole, shebang. I also considered how good the character is at tier 1, because for a lot of players, 1 bio subscription is only going to be enough to get the character to tier 1, maybe max out their gears, but not necessarily get them to tier 2. And so you want to also consider out that if you only have a few biometrics, or for the free-to-play players that can only get 20 of each for 3 characters and then hope to save for a mega rank up ticket later, they're only going to have that character at level or at tier 1 15 gear. So that is important as well. And then lastly, I considered if the character has any unique talents, and we'll discuss why that's important for differentiating some of the lower tiers between each other. But the biggest tier that I have is the A tier. These are the characters that are just fantastic top to bottom. They have unique talents, they're amazing maxed out, and they're also amazing at tier 1. Coming in at number 1 on the A tier, although they're all in this tier, is of course Spider-Man 2099. One of the best characters in the game, frequently in the top 10 or right around the top 10 for the meta snapshot. Amazing in PvE content, amazing in PvP content, and he holds up as one of the few consistent native tier 2 killers. So if you need someone to kill Adam Warlock, Jean Grey, Quicksilver, this is your man. I really don't have to say anything else. When he gets a uniform, the all new, all different 2099, he's going to turn into an absolute terror, and he's already a terror, which tells you a lot. One of the, highest built paywall characters, and definitely worth the investment. Next up on the list, we have Agent Venom, and he's fallen off quite a bit with the introduction of some more aggressive combat superheroes like Wolverine, Wolverine's uniform, Logan, and Black Panther, but he's still extremely good. And one of the things that makes him very good is the fact that at tier 1, his kit is insane. He's got a guard hit, he's got a heal, he's got invincibility for 5 seconds, he's got massive AoE, he's got iframes on Venom Swing, just top to bottom, fantastic character. When you take him to tier 2, it just gets better. He's got a self-buffing leadership, and just, it just keeps going on and on, self-buffs, he's got the whole 9, very, very strong character overall. Next up on the A-list characters that are bio subscription only, we have Enchantress. Now, I kind of hesitated whether to put her in this tier or in the B tier, because I think her damage falls off in comparison to some of these other characters. She definitely doesn't have the burst damage or the high DPS sustainability of the other characters on this list. I have one more, by the way. I wonder if you can guess who it is before I get there. But she's still very good at tier 1 because of Maiden's Farewell. If you're not familiar, when you combine it with Spellbound, even at tier 1, it gives you a 70% chance to charm the target for 5 seconds. That basically renders them completely immobile for 5 seconds. So it makes Enchantress very good for cheesing world bosses when you're a new character, you have a new account, and she helps you kind of get your footing on difficult content as a new player. And she's still pretty good later on in the game. She's got good AoE on her 5th skill. She's got lots of crowd control as well as her 2nd skill. She got her 4th skill, and she also has a guard hit. So she's not bad. Small heal on her 2nd skill, but I do think she's kind of like high B tier, low A tier compared to some of, like, she doesn't even hold a candle to Spider-Man 2099. Let's just put that out there. But otherwise, she's decent, although her leadership is pretty crap. Last but not least, definitely not least, with the dismissal and the never more to be seen again event battle, sadly, we can't get Luna Snow anymore from events or logins or suspicious likes or email registrations for events. But we can get her from the bio subscription, and that is the last and the most recent character added to the bio selection or the bio subscription character selector that is in the A tier for this list. She's just amazing as a character. She has Enchantress's 5-second charm effect on her 4th skill, but it just happens all the time, no matter what. There's no 70% chance, it's 100% chance all the time. Amazing damage, crazy DPS, high burst potential, lots of AoE, so she basically clears out the whole room, lots of iframes, and then lots of heals. All of that happens at tier 1, and then at tier 2, she just gets way stronger. So it's just amazing. Probably one of the strongest tier 1 characters in the game. Her damage is off the charts. Moving on into the B tier, these are characters that are good, but they just don't have as much power at tier 1, or they don't have as much power even when they're maxed out compared to those A tier characters. I only put 2 characters in the B tier, and I'll try to explain why. The first one is Valkyrie, and while Valkyrie I think is only about a C tier character, and especially at tier 1, Valkyrie is basically useless. She's just not a good character, let's be honest. Her damage is okay, she's got summons and it's kind of cute, but she's not going to excel compared to some of these other characters. She's no Agent Venom at tier 1. She's no Enchantress at tier 1. But the value of her unique talent is by far one of the best, or one of the better ones among this list of bio subscription characters. It's the increased damage to supervillains and the decreased damage from supervillains. This is good because it applies to all allies, so it's more flexible than Coulson's, but she has taken a hit recently in terms of her value because you have the farmable Phil Coulson and now the farmable via bioselectors Shuri. So because we have both of those characters, Valkyrie's value has dropped quite a bit, I would say. I almost put her in the C tier, but I think she deserves to be in the B tier, although I just can't really recommend her anymore because of Shuri and the fact that she does basically the exact same thing as Valkyrie, but she's so much cheaper and so much more farmable just by doing Shadowland. You can unlock her in just a couple of weeks of playing. The last character in the B tier is one that I recently got to tier 2, and I'm very happy with her output, Quasar. Very good iframes, very good damage, invincibility or immunity with her 3rd skill, easy to play, and very tanky. In addition, she takes up the rare role of being universal, female, and a superhero. We have very few of those types, and even more, if you investigate, we have very few good universal female types. We have Captain Marvel, Angela, Clea, Medusa, Satana, Singularity, Jane Foster. That's it. That are heroes. Of course we have a few villains, but among the heroes, Quasar is the best one. She might be second to Satana, but otherwise she's number 1. So yeah, to be basically the best in your position as a universal female hero, especially in terms of Shadowland and the flexibility that offers her, she deserves to be on the B tier. Then we come to the C tier. Now we're getting more into the realm of characters that are just not that good. You need to put a lot of effort into these characters. You're probably going to need to get them to tier 2, so you need to recognize that there's an increased amount of investment being asked for if you want these characters to shine. We're going to start it off with the very most recent, the newest character to the bio subscription, bio selector, Black Panther's enemy, Killmonger. Just not a fantastic character overall. Definitely needs his tier 2 to shine. His damage is low, and even with the uniform, he just doesn't do that well. Definitely without a uniform, he's not going to perform for you well at all. I think without the uniform, he's probably a D tier or kind of in the rest. and you're just taking on a lot of responsibility with a character like this. Coming up next is Ironheart. Not a bad character, good leadership, but she basically, you know, needs her tier 2. She needs her tier 2 because of her damage. Her damage output is just so incredibly low, and if you look at her stats at tier 2, she barely has 1500 energy attack, and that's with my cards. So that's very, very low. You have some characters coming in closer to 20,000 with their tier 2 passive. She's definitely a more defensive character, long iframes and stuff like that, but she doesn't have much crowd control. She has a mix of physical and energy, which can get you in trouble with reflect stages, and like I said, without her tier 2 passive, she really struggles a lot to deal enough damage to clear any content successfully with short time limits like Shadowland, so it is a danger to invest in her. Lastly, we have the kind of kid wonder from a bygone time, Kid Kaiju. Now, when he came out, he was a great character. He was probably one of the best, think about it, one of the best speed characters. Since then, we've gotten a glut of new, more powerful speed characters. We've got the uniform for Spider-Man, we got Spider-Man 2099, we got Quicksilver, we got Rogue, the list goes on. We just got a whole bunch of more powerful, more consistent, just straight up better speed characters. Even with his uniform, even with the type change to Smasher. They changed Smasher from being blast type to universal, so he does more damage, he takes less damage, he's just overall better. Even with all of that, Kid Kaiju still has low damage. You really need to pack his stats with damage, with a proc, even with fire damage on his obelisk if you want to take advantage of that 5th skill, fire action, just to get enough damage out of him. I know it says physical, but there's a fire component to it as well, in addition to his 1st skill. There's just not a lot to say. He's quite low statted for a character and a hero because of the fact that he's both speed and he has summons, so he's really got that not working for him. And while he does have tankiness with his 3rd skill, guard hit, he can still take a lot of damage with only one true iframe and one partial iframe. And the most important part is the fact that he's just been overshadowed so much by the recent additions to the speed class. Last but not least, if you've been keeping track and kind of you know who's left of the list, we have the kind of the old guys, the rest. And it's funny because once upon a time I actually compared these two characters when they were the only paywall bio subscription characters in the game. Yes, I'm talking about Hyperion and Carnage. Carnage has fallen so far out of favor that it's not even funny. Yeah, you can use Scourge now, you can use Killmonger, a lot of people of course using Apocalypse. There's just so many options, even Sandman, that Carnage was basically only being used for Extreme Alliance battle, and most of the players either have a better option than Carnage at this point, or they don't care about Extreme Alliance battle. So he basically has no use in the game, and he's basically unusable at tier 1 because of the fact that he has no way to protect himself outside of his 3rd skill iframe. That really hurts the character. He's got no uniform, and a lot of his skills just have really bad animations from a long time ago. The animations themselves look cool, I just mean the way that the skills animate leave him vulnerable. They don't do incredible damage at tier 1, and they just take too long, in the case of his 5th skill, especially at tier 1, to be considered useful, which is why he's not really used anymore. On the other hand, Hyperion, while he does have some damage at tier 1 and it gets better at tier 2, he's just limited. He only has a couple of good skills, namely his 5th skill and the 3rd skill heal. You can use the 1st skill in very specific situations and the 4th skill, but they're dangerous to use. The 4th skill has partial iframe, so it's not safe to use, and he's got one of the worst 2nd skills in the game. Check out Heat Blast if you haven't already, even in the skill preview, and you're gonna see one of the nightmares of Netmarble's poor designs. No tracking, low damage, super long animation. Just, it looks kind of cool as far as the actual effects go, but otherwise it's just a total waste of time. And of course it leaves him vulnerable, and that's why he's at the bottom. So that is my list for the renewed look at all of the bio subscription characters and which ones you should invest in if you're getting your 1st or your 3rd or however many bio subscriptions you are on, or if you're free to play and you're just using those first 3 free tokens for characters like 2099, Luna Snow, etc. Let me know what you think of the list and the 4 tiers, or the 3.5 tiers. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.